by Victorian MP, specifically for the electorate of Corangamite, from our Geelong studios. I'm talking about Sarah Henderson. Thanks very much for your company.
Peter, good afternoon. Great to be with you.
Let me go straight into, I guess, regional infrastructure and development. I was actually talking to Matthew Guy, your state colleague, the state Liberal leader here in Victoria, about this very issue. He talked about the need to disperse population from outside of Melbourne. I imagine you would see Geelong as a key corridor in that, infrastructure associated with it, which we might be able to get to. But when I was talking to him about this, he didn't actually mention Geelong. He talked about Bendigo, he talked about all sorts of other cities. You've got to be disappointed that he didn't throw Geelong in there, surely.
Look, Peter, I know Geelong is very much high on Matthew Guy's agenda, as it is, of course, for the people of Corangamite. But I represent 7,500 square kilometres, including a large portion of Geelong. And one of the big challenges that we're facing at the moment is, frankly, the Andrews government is turning its back on so many infrastructure needs in regional Victoria. Today, I have actually called on the Victorian government to match our $345 million commitment that we have made to regional roads right across Victoria. Some of which was announced, of course, by the Prime Minister in April, but then we made a number of further announcements during the election campaign and in the budget. So at the moment we see a situation where $345 million of federal money going into regional and rural roads in Victoria is not being matched by the state government, including incredible roads like the Great Ocean Road. We've announced $25 million on top of a previous $25 million that we have already announced, and yet not a word from Daniel Andrews.
Well, can I ask you about that? I mean, is this common? I mean, you've been watching politics both pre-entering it yourself as well as now as a parliamentarian. Is this common practice that you have these disagreements between state and federal, or is it something that is unique to this scenario in Victoria? I mean, the East-West Link, for example, literally been prepared to walk away at a state level from $1 billion worth of sunk costs, if I could put it that way, in the project. It sort of surprises me to watch these non-commercial decisions being made, and that's whatever side of the ledger you fall on these debates, because if you're a voter, you're watching this, frankly, if you're a voter for either side of politics, you just want to sit in less traffic, to have safer roads, to have better infrastructure in place, yet it seems like you have these partisan squabbles, whether it's state to state or party to party.
Well, I have to say, Peter, I think we see it worse in Victoria than any other state. And we haven't seen the same type of terrible squabbling from, say, South Australia that we do in Victoria. Daniel Andrews has a terrible history of playing politics and putting politics above issues like infrastructure, like road safety. And as you say, the $1.1 billion that was wasted by the Victorian government on the East-West Link by cancelling that project still ricochets as one of the worst economic decisions ever made in this state. It affects the people of Geelong also and the people of Corangamite, because the Western Distributor project, a project to which the state government is not contributing any cash at all, will not really do a lot for the people of Geelong. There's no second arterial road into Melbourne, and Infrastructure Victoria, the state government's own body, has actually said that this is a vital roads project for Victoria, and of course to make our roads safer and to unclog our roads, which is really becoming really dramatic for commuters, particularly obviously during peak hour.
Sarah Henderson, I'm keen to talk to you about women in politics, particularly on the Liberal side. I wrote about this a couple of weeks ago, but we are standing by for an interest rate announcement, which may blot our time on that. So hopefully we can talk more about that maybe down the track. But on interest rates, splashed across the front page of the AFR today, it says Treasurer gives nod to rate cut. It is expected that the Reserve Bank will lower interest rates. That's a sign that the economy is pretty weak, isn't it? Globally as well as domestically, because they're already at record lows. Is the government, or should the government, be concerned about that?
Well, of course, the RBA is an independent body and they will make their decision and announcement in a couple of minutes' time. There's no doubt we are facing some economic headwinds and the Treasurer has spoken about those. But let's not forget, Peter, that we are seeing some very positive jobs growth, including here in regional Victoria. In the Geelong region, we're seeing an unemployment rate of 5%, which of course is much lower than the national average of 5.8%. And that's one of the reasons that we're investing so heavily in small businesses, because we need to continue that business confidence, giving businesses of all shapes and sizes the confidence to grow and to employ people. So yes, there are some economic headwinds, but I won't make any further predictions. Of course, the RBA will be making its announcement in a couple of minutes' time.
All right, Sarah Henderson, we appreciate you finding the time to talk to us. Hope to chat again soon. Thanks very much for your company.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Well, we are standing by now to take you across to our colleagues at the Business Channel. This is a pretty big moment, with most economists, the overwhelming majority of economists, predicting rates to drop below what are already record lows of 1.75% down to 1.5%. We will find out if it happens. If it does, it's a sign of a sluggish economy. We know the global economy is sluggish. The issue is, how sluggish is the domestic economy? Scott Morrison essentially gave the green light to the Reserve Bank to be able to go ahead. Not that they need that, of course, as Sarah Henderson just noted, they are independent of government. But what this means for the economy, it comes back to the currency. There are concerns that the currency doesn't want to be too high and the impact that might have on Australia. Let's have a listen in to our colleagues at the Business Channel to find out what the change, if there is one, in the interest rate